All right, so we're going to talk about our coding program, which is called R Studio Server. We're just going to do a quick little introduction. So to get there, on the far left toolbar, you see R Studio Server. You're going to click that, and then you're going to open link in new tab. Log in. Here you go. I'm going to have extra stuff because I'm the teacher, but make sure you're in the 2024, 2025, or this is when I'm making the video. So if it's in the future, whatever year, within the Dart or STS 301. I'm going to have all the students on mine. You should just have one, and it should say your name right here. Then you can say, just click that elementary statistical methods, and that's going to take us in. Now we're at the mercy of the internet. There we go. Baby. Okay, let me close all this out. Yours is going to look like this, probably. So in order to get somewhere to type, we're going to hit this green plus sign right here, which is new file. And then we're always going to press R script. So that R script gives us an actual place to type our code. So now we have an R script. And also, every assignment is going to start with what data set you should import. So for the notes, we're going to use something called animal data. So to import any data set all year, in this upper right corner, you see import data set. We're always going to do text base, and we're never going to use these other ones. So text base. If you want to upload data, we're going to go to the data folder. And then the assignment's going to say upload health data, upload example data, upload bike data. It's going to tell you what to upload. So the notes, we're going to use animal data. So I double clicked. I like to rename this as short and sweet as humanly possible. I'm always going to use all lowercase letters because whatever you choose to name this, you're going to use this. You're going to type this name several times. So if you have a long name or like capital letters and stuff, you're not wrong. It's fine. You're just going to have to type more than I'm going to have to type using animal all lowercase. You're going to scroll down. Always make sure this yes is selected. If that yes is not selected and it says no, we have a problem. So make sure the yes is selected. Then we're going to hit import. And as soon as you hit import, you see this just looks like a regular old like Excel type spreadsheet or Google Sheet, whatever you prefer. And we can look, and there's different types of variables. So there's intake date, what time did they enter the shelter? How did they reach the shelter? Were they stray or did their owner give them up? Animal type, so is it a dog or a cat? And are they spayed or neutered and whatnot? We have a bunch of information about these animals. Important numbers. This 473 means there are 473 animals in this data set. And then the 24 variables, that's a little obvious. That just means we have 24 of these bold row 1 variables. So I'm going to teach you how to do two things. So let's make a table of the types of animals. In R, when you were coding, if you put a hashtag in front of your code, or a pound sign, whatever you want to call that, if you put that in front of your code, it just means note to self. So anytime I'm going to code, if I show you what the notes look like real quick. Anytime you look at my notes, I'm going to have some hashtags that are a note to myself of this is what I'm going to do. And then the black underneath is the code that does what the note says. Okay. So we're going to make a table of the types of animals. Luckily, talking to R is pretty straightforward. None of our assignments or tests, you have to have anything memorized. So all of our assignments and all of our tests for coding purposes, will always be open note. So you will always be able to use your notes on assignments in class and the test UT writes for coding. So all coding assignments, you don't have to memorize any of this. You just have to have it written down so you can use it on the test. If you want to make a table of something, you just type the word table. And then the big thing, when you talk to R, inside of parentheses, when you're talking in R Studio, you always put dataset, money sign, or dollar sign, variable. So no matter what we do all year, we are always going to put dataset, money sign, variable. So if you want to put this in your notes, you could type it like this. I don't know why my voice is going. I guess I've talked too much today. But so make a table of the types of animals. To do that, we're going to do a table command. That's called a function. So we're going to use the table function, and inside the table function, we're going to put dataset, money sign, variable. So we called our dataset animal. When we imported it, I called it animal over here. So the data we are going to tell R to use is the animal. And what we have to do is, if I want to know the types of animals, we're going to use the animal type variable. So we're going to use the animal type variable. So when I press the money sign, all the variables are going to pop up. Okay. So if I want a table of animal type, I'm just going to click animal type. Okay. To actually make something happen in R, you have to be clicking somewhere on the line. So make sure your cursor is flashing on the line, and then hit this run button. So then when you look at your table down there, you have 291 dogs and 182 cats. So if you notice, I ran it up here, but nothing happened. My answer shot out in the console down here in the bottom left. So now I know how many of each type of variable there are. So next, we are going to make something called a data frame or subset. Those words are interchangeable. I will use both in class, but they mean the same thing, of dogs. So instead of a table that just tells me how many of each, all that table did is tell me there's 291 dogs, but I can't do anything with that information other than tell you that's how many there are. So if we make a data frame, we can actually see stuff. And when you do the practice, you'll see why it's important. But to make a data frame, you can name the data frame whatever you want. So if we're going to make a data frame of dogs, I'm going to name it dogs. What we're trying to do is, let's say I work at the front desk of this animal shelter, right? So I'm like the receptionist, and somebody calls and asks if they can come in tomorrow and adopt a dog, right? So someone wants to come into our animal shelter tomorrow and adopt a dog. Well, I'm not going to send them the animal spreadsheet in an email because that's going to have dogs and cats on it. And nobody wants to look through 473 animals to find one they like. If I know that the person wants a dog, I'm going to make a spreadsheet of just the dogs so I can send that to them. Okay. And this is how we do this. So you give the data frame a name. You can name it whatever you want, just make it relevant. And this is called the assign command. The assign command just looks like an arrow, and that's the less than key, which is by your arrow keys or by your shift key probably. And then this is a hyphen, which should be by your backspace. So it's just a less than key and a hyphen. But that's called the assign command. And then you do data set. So the name of the data set is animal. And those are square brackets, not parentheses. This is the only thing in this class that we're going to use square brackets instead of regular old parentheses. So if you get an error and it says like function not found, make sure that you use square brackets and not parentheses. This is the weird part. We actually have to repeat the data set, and I'll explain why once I finish typing. I'm going to translate this line of code into English. So what you have to do is talk to the computer and tell it exactly what to do. So we've told it in this to open up the animal spreadsheet. And once we open the animal spreadsheet, we want a list of dogs, right? So the word dog is located under the variable animal type. Okay, so we have to tell it that we want to go to the animal spreadsheet. When you get to the animal spreadsheet, money sign, go to the animal type variable. And then you have to press the equal sign twice, which is weird. But again, you never have to memorize any of this stuff. If you write down that it's two equal signs, you just have to type in what you wrote. So you want to go to the animal type variable, and then when it gets to the animal type variable, you want DOG. You want all lowercase the word dog. I know this sound, and then there's a random comma at the end that says bring all the other variables with it. So I like to picture a little guy inside of my computer. I know that may make me sound like a third grade teacher, but I think it helps with the visualization. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. So picture you're telling someone this line of code. Okay. So you're telling the little guy that works inside R, go to the animal spreadsheet. When you get to the animal spreadsheet, go to the animal type column. Go to the animal type column. And then this says when you get to the animal type column, I want you to look for and keep all of the DOG entries. Okay. And again, be clicking anywhere on here and hit run. So now I have the original animal data set, which had 473 animals. I just created an additional data set of 291 animals. And if you look at animal type, well, the internet's being slow. If you look at animal type, they're all dogs. Okay. So now if that guy wants to come in and adopt a dog, I can send him a spreadsheet of, hey, here's all our dogs. Okay. Let's say the guy wants more specific, right? Let's say he wants to look for a dog that was owner surrendered because he hates when owners drop their dog off at the animal shelter because they just don't want one anymore, right? He feels bad for them. Right, so let's say he wants a dog that was owner surrendered. So we're going to make a data frame of owner surrendered dogs. Okay. So again, we're the receptionist and we're trying to help out this customer. And I'm going to send him a list of all of the dogs that were owner surrendered. So I'm going to call this group surrender dogs. You have to separate words with an underscore because the space bar absolutely freaks out RStudio. So you can't put a space between the words, and you also can't put a hyphen between the words because it literally thinks you want to mathematically subtract the two words, which is also not good. So if you want to write two different words, you can just squish them together like that, but that gets kind of long. So I just separate them with underscore. So if you want to make a group of owner surrendered dogs to send to our client or customer, whatever you want to call them, we have a data set called animal. And in that animal data set, we have cats and dogs, but this person is not interested in a cat, right? So when we want to make another subset, we're not going to use animal because if I put animal twice, I'm going to be drawing from the animal data set, which is not what I want to do, right? So instead of animal, we're actually going to put dogs because when I repeat dogs, that's telling the little guy that works inside RStudio to go to the dogs data set and look at the intake type variable. Because if I go into the dogs data set, all of these animals are already a dog. They're already a dog. So then if I add, we want the intake type out of all the dogs, I want the intake type to equal surrender with our comma. So this is saying go to the data set of all the dogs. I don't want to go back to animal because that also has cats. So go to the data set that's all dogs and grab me all the dogs where the intake type is surrender. Okay. So by knowing how to use RStudio and knowing how to subset, instead of sending this poor guy 473 animals that have cats and dogs, we've now narrowed the 473 down to 81 owner surrender dogs. So hopefully he can find one that he wants. And I'm not going to make this a 45-minute video, but you can just keep going, right? Maybe he wants a female dog, right? He doesn't want a guy, guys mark their territory or whatever. So maybe he wants a female dog. So we can make a data frame of female owner surrendered dogs, right? So we can do female surrender dog. You can call it whatever you want. You can call this Go Bobcats if you want. It doesn't matter. But we have to name it. We do the assign command. And then the surrender dogs data set is already owner surrendered dogs, right? It's already owner surrendered dogs. So we want to go look in the surrender dogs data set. We want to go look at the surrender dogs data set. When we get there in the surrender dogs data set, which again, all of these are owner surrendered, all of these are dogs. We only want the female dogs out of here, right? So we have all of these are dogs, all of these are surrendered animals. But now we want to narrow it down to only where the sex variable equals female. So we want to pull up the sex variable and we want to look where that is equal to the word female. So now, instead of sending our client 473 animals, we are now going to send him a list of 29 animals, which is a much more reasonable thing for him to look at. The goal of this video, and hopefully it helps, I know I kind of talk slow and ramble sometimes, but hopefully this helps if you were absent in class. We would have gone over something similar to this. I made the video a little longer and more thorough because you're probably only watching this if you were absent or confused. But this is how you make a data frame. Again, all of our assignments and tests will be open note. So I would just write how to make a data frame down, and then you just have to be able to replicate this process by changing the name of the data frame and variable. So I'll see you on class.